What's happening, everybody? Welcome back to Game Day with Trey. Of course, this is your host, Trey. And today, we're going to go over the full NBA slate. All right, so we're going to cover every single game for today, October 23rd, 2024. That's Wednesday, all right, if you didn't know today, guys. And I'm going to go ahead and give you my leans. I'm going to give you my locks, all right, and I'm going to let you know how I'm feeling about the game. All right, so first and foremost, we're going to start off first with the Detroit Pistons versus the Indiana Pacers. All right, so this game will be set to kick off at 7 p.m. East Coast time. The line is Pistons plus 4.5. Over-under is 233.5, but the over-under has moved up to 235. And the line has kind of moved too, because now the line's at Pacers -5, guys. All right, so let's go ahead and let's talk about these two teams. All right, so the Indiana Pacers only won 47 games last season, and that ended in the Eastern Conference Finals. And they enter year 4 under Coach Rick Carlisle. Now, the Pacers are pretty much the same team from a year ago with Tyrese Halliburton and Miles Turner leading the way for him. Pascal Siakam will have a full season under his belt with the Pacers, while Andrew Nembhard and Aaron Naismith got valuable playoff minutes and experience. Don't forget T.J. McConnell, who remains one of the most underrated bench players in the NBA, and Mathurin. Mathurin's a beast too, man. You can't forget about that dog. Now, if you liked the Pacers last year, you should probably like them even more this year after showing what they're capable of, especially on the offensive side. Now, last time the Pacers made the conference finals, they did follow it up by not making the playoffs way back in 2014, 2015, just so you know, guys. All right, now when you talk about the Detroit Pistons have won only won 14 games last season. All right. And so now begins the JB Bickerstaff era. So the Pistons have a combined 31 games in the last 2 years that they've won. All right, and they haven't made the playoffs since 2018, 2019, and they were lucky when they made it then. Now, the Pistons are still a work in progress and a very young team. Cade Cunningham is a dog. All right, he comes out there, he can be the floor general, he can score for you, he plays defense, he's a leader. I like the young man, all right? And he's got Jaden Ivey with him, who, in my eyes, is poised to have a great season as well. You know what I mean? And right now, they're the faces of the program. They do have a Sir Thompson, even though I believe he's still out sick right now, but he should take a step when he finally does reach the court, guys. And they are adding also Malik Beasley, who's got some dog in him as a Grizzly vet. So I'm really not understanding the whole Tobias Harris thing and why they brought him back, but you know, it is what it is on that. Okay, maybe some nostalgia or something. The Pistons have to have some work to do, though, before they can be considered a competitive team in the East. So the Pistons should focus on winning somewhere within these 25 first games, man. So however they're looking within the first 25 games will tell you everything you really need to know about them, man. All right. It's going to be baby steps with this team, but I do expect them to be better this year than they were last year, especially under JB Bickerstaff. So when you're talking about the injury report with these two teams, because you got to talking NBA, Obi Toppin, he is questionable with the neck. He's nursing the neck. It's not established if he's going to be out there tonight. Isaiah Jackson, he's got an undisclosed injury. He's questionable. He's dealing with it, a groin, and not clear if he's going to be out there. James Wiseman, of course, he's already hurt. He's probable, but he's already hurt, man. He's managing a groin injury. He's projected to be active tonight, though. And Aaron Naismith, he's got the ankle injury. He is questionable that he's dealing with, and it's unknown if he'll be in the lineup. Whereas when you're talking about Detroit, we already know what Sir Thompson, like I previously mentioned, he's dealing with that illness, so he's definitely out for an extended period of time. Bobby Clinton, he's out with the calf, and we don't know how long that's going to be either. Jalen Duren's actually probable with that back. It's hobbled by the back injury, but he is expected to go ahead and get to start and play tonight. Isaiah Stewart with the hamstring, he's probable, and Tobias Harris, he's got an illness, but he's probable, and he's projected to actually be out there tonight, guys. All right, so when you're talking about these two teams, you got to talk about the last 10 times they matched up, man. So in the last 10 times these two teams matched up, the Indiana Pacers do lead this straight up 6-4. All right, they also hold the lead against the spread 6-4 as well, and it's been 6 to the over, 4 to the under. They won 4 straight times last year, scoring no less than 122 points. and that was in the last time they played them way back on March 20th of this year. Okay, it was 122 to 103. Indiana did cover the 11, and it went under the 235.5. Last year they went over 2 games and under 2 games, guys, and it didn't really matter where they were playing because it was 1-1 either way, right? So you do have to kind of understand those things when you're looking at these two teams. The most points that the Pacers scored last year was 136, and the most points that the Detroit Pistons scored against them last year was 123. That was way back on December 11th. It was 131 to 123. Indiana still did cover their 7.5, and it went over to 247. That game was in Detroit. All right, and yeah. So, and the lowest amount of points they scored was 103. All right, like I said, that was back on March 20th. All right, so let's go ahead and let's look a little bit deeper into this matchup. I'll give you my lean, and we'll go ahead and keep it pushing, right? So, the Detroit Pistons really might not have too much of a chance to win this game just because of the dominance that the Pacers have shown over the last few years, man. The Pistons have lost 14 of their last 15 games against Central Division opponents. The Pacers have won each of their last 4 games against the Pistons, and the Pistons have failed to cover the spread in each of their last 5 night games at Little Caesars Arena. Now, the Pacers have covered the spread in each of their last 4 games as favorites against the Pistons. All right, each of the Pacers' last 6 season openers as favorites against Eastern Conference opponents has gone over the total points line, and 8 of the last 10 games between the Pacers and the Pistons at Little Caesars Arena have gone under the total points line, guys. So figure it out if you want to on that total. Now, neither the Pistons nor the Pacers changed their rosters a ton from last season, and it's not ideal for the home team, of course, because of the fact that the additions they did make are actually going to be starters, somebody like by the name of Tobias Harris. All right, so the Pacers beat the Pistons 4 times last season. The Pistons are under a new regime, new era, JB Bickerstaff, and the average margin of victory last year was 16 points. The Pacers' up-tempo and explosive offensive style played a lot in the regular season, but they slowed that stuff down in the postseason. Could have been because of injury or whatever, but I don't know. But at the end of the day, okay, it just doesn't bode well for the Pistons, and even though they do have Cade Cunningham, they still don't have a lot of scoring. Jaden Ivey can only do so much, guys. All right, so my play in this one that I did actually get in, okay, is the Pacers minus. I think I got them at like 3.5, maybe. I either got them at 3.5 or 2.5, somewhere like that. You can play it at minus 4.5. I like that. Not sure if I like the 5, but I'm okay with the 4.5, guys. All right, so let's go ahead and let's take a look at this next matchup. The next game we're gonna take a peep at will be, sorry guys, all right, and so for this next game, we're gonna go ahead and look at the Orlando Magic visiting the Miami Heat. All right, so this game's set to kick off at 7:30 p.m. East Coast time. The line is currently Orlando +2. Some places you can get it at Orlando +1.5. The over/under has been somewhere posted between 208 and 208.5. Depends on when you look at it or where you're looking at it, guys. All right, so looking at these two teams, Orlando Magic were a surprise team last season with 47 wins and a playoff appearance, and they also were the best team against the spread last season as well, guys, just so you know. You know what I mean? Now, the Magic entered the year number 4 under Jamal Mosley. The Magic bring back a young core that made success just kind of happen for themselves last season with Jalen Suggs, Franz Wagner, of course Wendell Carter Jr., and the star Paolo Banchero. Now, the Magic's key additions were KCP, who brings some kind of championship pedigree and experience, as well as a vet who can shoot a timely 3 when needed, guys. All right, and if Franz Wagner and Paolo Banchero can take another leap, all right, they can get to 40-plus wins in back-to-back seasons for the first time since 2010-2011, realistically, guys. All right, now the Magic have made the playoffs just 3 times since 2012-2013, so winning the thing is still fresh, but it's a completely new team, completely young team, and they got to kind of figure it out, man. And I believe they will. Now, when you're talking about the Miami Heat, won 46 games last season, were bounced in the first round, and they're entering year number 17 under Eric Spoelstra right now. So the Heat didn't make many moves in the offseason outside of signing Alec Burke and drafting Khalil Ware, but the Heat are banking on a full season from Terry Rozier and Tyler Hero, as well as Jimmy Butler, who's in a contract year, guys. They also want to see market improvement from Jaime Jaquez Jr. and Nikola Jovic, who I got high hopes for both of those young men, right? Now, the Heat have the championship pedigree and fantastic coach, but the whole question has been, can they put it all together at the right time? Can they all stay consistent and stay healthy through the regular season so they don't have to go through the gauntlet when it comes time for the come down, right? So the core for this Heat team is the same as when it was in the 2022-23 finals, and it still wasn't enough. So it feels like the Heat are a couple moves away, or maybe a move away from seriously contending. Now, the Heat missed the playoffs just 3 times since 2008-2009. The Heat have won no less than 40 games in 8 of the last 9 seasons, guys. So take that in when you're understanding what type of team you're looking at, what kind of grit they got. Now, as far as injuries, Wendell Carter Jr., he's already questionable with the ankle. Miami, they got a shoulder injury for Josh Richardson. He is out currently. Tyler Hero is questionable dealing with that groin, and Jaime Jaquez Jr., he's also questionable dealing with the groin right now, guys. All right, so we're looking at these two teams in the last 10 times that they actually matched up out there on the court. The Miami Heat do run it 7-3, and against the spread they run it 6-4, and it's been 5 to the over, 5 to the under. Last season when they played 2 overs and 2 unders. Really didn't matter where they play. Miami did cover 3 times on them, and they did also win 3 times against them. Miami won the last time they did play back on February 6th, 121-95, guys. All right, and they were severely hampered and injured at that point in time too, if I remember correctly. All right, so understanding this matchup is one of the last things you really got to know about it, right? So the home team has won each of the Magic's last 13 games. All right, so understanding that goes into the playoffs when they lost every game on the road, which is 4 games, guys. And I believe they even lost some games in the play-in on the road. But, you got to understand that. All right, now the Magic have lost each of their last 9 games at the Kasai Center back down there in Miami, and the home team has covered the spread in 12 of the Magic's last 13 games. The Magic have failed to cover the spread in 7 of their last 8 road games, guys. And each of the Heat's last 8 Wednesday games as favorites have gone under the total points line, whereas each of the Magic's last 5 road openers as underdogs have gone over the total points line. All right, so the Orlando Magic, they got a history of giving the Heat a lot of issues, guys. But Miami has won 7 of the last 10 times they played, like I just got done telling you. And while the Magic have made noise in the playoffs and they're a young team and getting better, and I think they're on the rise, they're going to do great things this season, I just don't believe that this is the game where they're going to come out and do it. You know what I mean? Especially with a fired up Jimmy Buckets, who's in a contract year. So, I got to rock with the Heat as a lean. If I was going to play this game, I really didn't play this game besides the over-under on this game. The over-under I did play, and I bought a couple points and got it at like under 210 or 210.5. I just think there's a possibility that they play a lot of defense in this game because these are 2 teams that are staunch rivals. You feel me? All right, so let's go ahead and let's take a look at this next quick matchup, man. So the next matchup is set to kick off at 7:30 p.m. East Coast time, and it's the Milwaukee Bucks versus the Philadelphia 76ers. All right, so this line, or this game will be played in Philadelphia, and the line is, some places you see Philly plus 3.5, some places you see Philly plus 4, right? Over under at 224.5 some places it's come all the way down to 222.5, guys. But let's go ahead and let's talk about this matchup, right? And these 2 teams. The Milwaukee Bucks won 49 games last season and lost in the first round for the 2nd straight year after trading for Damian Lillard and thinking that was going to fix all their woes, guys. All right, now they're entering with a full season now that Damian Lillard has played together with Giannis, and they're almost a full season with Doc Rivers. So hopefully this year they'll be able to get it together and stay a little bit more healthy. Now it's going to be fun seeing the pairing with Damian and Antetokounmpo out there, fresh out the gate. I believe Brook Lopez and Bobby Portis remain the rocks of the Bucks, and hopefully Chris Middleton can stay healthy. Now the core of the Bucks remains the same. All right. There's an upside if things can come together and people can stay healthy, but really and truly, nobody knows anything about health. Nobody can guess that, guys. All right. Now, with just one playoff series win since winning the NBA title, it feels like the Bucks are due for a breakthrough. Now, of course, the elephant in the room is Doc Rivers and how far he can really take them. Well, while accomplished and having longevity, Rivers hasn't had much recent postseason success, even with all-star studded teams, guys. All right, now when you're looking at the Philadelphia 76ers, the 76ers are coming off 47 wins last year and in the second year under Nick Nurse. Now, he is a great coach, and the 76ers have a contender on paper with the trio of Tyrese Maxey, Paul George, and Joel Embiid. The problem is George and Embiid enter the season banged up and will miss at least the first week to a few weeks of the season, guys, up to 4. Now, there are also reports that Embiid will be limited throughout the season and isn't going to play on no back-to-backs either. I really don't understand that one, but it is what it is on that, guys. So, it's hard to take the 76ers seriously. I really don't understand what they're trying to do, how you going to find a rhythm like that, especially, I don't know, man. You just can't be Mr. Glass out there. That's just my personal opinion. So when you're looking at the injury report for these two teams, right now, Giannis Antetokounmpo is probable dealing with that knee injury. Chris Middleton, he's out, of course, with the ankle. Andre Jackson Jr., he's probable with that finger he's nursing. And Gary Trent Jr., he is questionable with the elbow that he's nursing, and it's unclear if he's going to be out there tonight, guys. Now, Paul George, he's still questionable managing that knee injury, but he's expected to miss the first couple games. So I really don't expect to see him out there. He hyperextended his knee. Joel Embiid's questionable with the knee, managing the injury that he is always managing. All right, and Jared McClain, the point guard, he's got a lung issue. You know what I mean? So he's questionable for this game as well, guys. All right, so looking at the last 10 times these teams have met out there, right now the Bucks lead at 7-3 straight up, 6-4 against the spread, and 5 to the over, 4 to the under with one push. As far as over/under is concerned, man, the Bucks beat them 4 times last year. The lowest Bucks ever scored last year was 114, and the most they scored was 119. All right, now the last time they played was March 14th, and it was 114 to 105. Whereas when you're looking at what 76ers have been able to do, the most they were able to score was 117 way back when it was 118 to 117, and they had the whole team out there, all right, back on October 26th of last year, and last season. Now, the most they scored was that 117, and the least they scored is the 98 points, man. They really haven't had success against this team, especially last season. Now, Milwaukee did go 3-1 against them against the spread, covering all the way up to 7 points, but did not cover one time way back when they won. Of course, they won by that 1 point. The spread was 6. Now, over-under is concerned, they had 2 unders, 1 push, and 1 over in this, guys. All right, last season. All right, so looking at these two teams, man, and understanding where they're at, man, why I think the Bucks are going to win is the 76ers have lost each of their last 7 season openers against Central Division opponents. The Bucks have won each of their last 4 games against the 76ers, and the Bucks have covered the spread in 6 of their last 7 road games against the Atlantic Division opponents. Now, the 76ers have also failed to cover the spread in each of their last 3 home openers against Eastern Conference opponents, man. So 10 of the 76ers' last 11 games against Eastern Conference opponents have gone over the total points line, and 6 of the Bucks' last 7 road games have gone over the total points line, guys. The only reason I don't really see this going over is just because of the fact that Tyrese Maxey's nursing a finger injury that he says not going to bother him, but it should probably bother him. And then you got other people out there who just don't want to play, like Joel Embiid. Is he serious right now? And then you got Paul George. Of course, you know, he's hurt, but he's a major cog on this team for where they want to go and where they want to be, as far as I'm concerned. So looking at these two teams, man, the 76ers have depth, and Maxey is capable of being the top player and putting the team on his back. He did it last season. However, no George, no Embiid is tough early in the season, especially going against a team that's been playing together for a year, like Dame and Giannis, guys. Now, this feels like a Giannis game. That he's probably going to take over in the paint just like he did last time they played him and Embiid sat out or was not healthy all the way. So I expect him to have a bounce back season this year, especially Lillard. I think he's going to do something this season too. You could argue the Bucks should be even bigger favorites since these injuries are here, but that makes you question it, right? So that's why it's only a lean right now for the Milwaukee Bucks, minus the 3.5. I did, however, I did take the under on this one, guys. I did like it under. I think what I get it at, like 224.5 or something like that. Yeah, I got it at under the 224.5 because of the injuries. Strictly because of the injuries, guys. All right, so next on the slate is the Atlanta Hawks versus the Brooklyn Nets. This is a 7:30 game also. Atlanta minus 7.5. Over under is at 220.5, guys. All right, so now it's gone up to 223, and it's also Nets plus 6.5 some places as well. So the line has moved towards the Nets, guys. Sharp money came in on the Nets. Now let's go ahead and get this over with because I really don't want to talk about these two teams. Not right now. We need more data. All right, the Brooklyn Nets only won 32 games last season, and now in a new coach, new era, right? The Nets moved Mikal Bridges for a 5th round pick. I'm not sure how smart that was for his future, and then not 5th round pick, for the 1st round pick, guys. And Cam Thomas, he's starting to come into his own, guys. Cam Johnson and Nick Claxton, they looked all right last year together when healthy and looked capable. Ben Simmons is supposed to be taking back the point guard position. All right, but we're really not sure about that mysterious injury that keeps popping up, man. So I really don't have high hopes for this team, but at the same time, I think they will be competitive at times. The Atlanta Hawks, man, the Hawks are coming off 36 wins. They failed to make the playoffs. The Hawks, for second full year under Quinn Snyder, they got rid of DeJounte Murray instead of Trae Young for some reason. So now Trae Young's the primary playmaker again. I'm sure he's happy. Bogdanovich, man, he's a respectable shooter still. Clint Capella, he's still doing a good job in the paint, really on defense and rebounding, but nothing more, no offense, nothing but lobs. DeAndre Hunter, he would be nice, and there's a little potential in the youth with Zachariah Richard. And Jalen Johnson's a dog. Now, if they can actually get Trae Young to buy into giving Jalen Johnson the ball and let Jalen Johnson do what he needs to do, set him up, then they might have a chance. They might have a chance, man. But it could be a slow start, for both of these teams as far as in the win column is concerned, man. So looking at the injury report right now, you got to understand Nick Claxton's probable with the hamstring injury. Dorian Finney-Smith, this is for Brooklyn, guys. He's also probable with the undisclosed injury. Daron Sharp, he's out. Bogdanovich is out, and Watford is out. Cam Johnson's probable with the toe injury he's been battling, and Zaire Williams, he's also probable nursing that hip injury. Then looking at Atlanta, Cody Zeller's out, Lundy's out, Barlow's out, Buffkin's out. Okungwo is probable now battling that toe injury, and Clint Capella, yeah, he is questionable with that ankle injury. Unknown if he's gonna actually suit up tonight, guys. All right. Now, looking at these two teams, last 10 times that they actually showed up on the court against each other, Brooklyn owns it 7-3 straight up, 6-3 against the spread. It's been 4 to the over, 5 to the under. Brooklyn beat them all 4 times last year. Most points they scored was 124, and then all the rest of the games they scored 114 every single time. Now, as far as what Atlanta's done, Atlanta came out there and they scored 113 twice, but the lowest they scored was 97, and the other one, just so you know, was 102, guys. All right, so looking at these two teams and understanding how they play against each other, and a few moves that have been made, man, this is what you got to know, right? You got to know that the Nets have lost each of their last 8 season openers against Eastern Conference opponents. The home team has won 6 of the Nets' last 7 games. Nets have failed to cover the spread in each of their last 5 road games against Southeastern Conference opponents. And the Hawks have covered the spread in each of their last 3 games against Atlantic Division opponents, man. All right, now each of the Hawks' last 8 home games have gone over the total points line, and each of the Nets' last 4 night games against Southeastern Division Conference opponents have gone over the total points line, guys. Now, the Brooklyn Nets, they've had a lot worse teams, but they've had a lot of better teams. Atlanta, we got to see what they are, but the one thing I do know is that there'll probably be some scoring in this game, man. So I would look towards that Atlanta team total over, maybe team total over 113.5, or even looking at the total game over, maybe I'll buy a couple points on that one, and probably buy it down to like 220 and see what happens, guys, because if Ben Simmons plays significant minutes, then it could be an issue as far as scoring is concerned, minus the assists that he's going to put out there and the rebound that he does. All right, so moving right on along, we're going to talk about this next game, which is the Cleveland Cavaliers visiting the Toronto Raptors. Now, this game is going to be kicked off at 7:30 p.m. East Coast time. The line is Toronto plus 6.5. Over under right now is at 224.5, guys. All right, so let's go ahead and let's take a look at these two teams, man. The Cavs last year, they won 48 games last season, entering the Kenny Atkinson era. The Cavs have an intriguing starting lineup with Darius Garland, Donovan Mitchell, Max Strus, Evan Mobley, and Jarrett Allen. Now, there's also an upside with that group, given the youth and some of those players. Karis LeVert and Issa Okra, all right, are also decent bench options, man, as they came through last season, right? Now, at times last year, the Cavs did look legit NBA Finals contenders, but at the end of the day, they also had moments where they didn't look nothing like that, right? All right, now, was it due to injury? Was it due to continuity? I mean, I really shouldn't see a problem in continuity minus adding Max Strus last year, but, maybe. So it doesn't feel like the Cavs are far away from making that push, though. So they can look special this year, and it looks like the Cavs are finally figuring some things out post LeBron era, especially with that signing of Spider Mitchell. Even though we are all not sure how long Spider will stay there, like he was ready to be out last season, so maybe he had to change of heart. I don't know, man. Now, when you talk about the Raptors, though, the Raptors have missed the playoffs in back-to-back seasons and are entering the second year under Darko Rajokovic. So, on paper, the Raptors aren't completely terrible. Scotty Barnes is all-star caliber player. Emmanuel Quickley is a young playmaking guard, and R.J. Barrett has shown flashes in the pan of being reliable, serviceable forward in the league with scoring ability. Now, you can work with that trio, but the question is, around the league, who can work with that trio? Because there's no real standouts, and most of the rosters was banged up last year. So what are they, and who are they really when they're playing together, man? The Raptors need better injury luck this season if they want to be a team that's going to be viable. But we're going to have to find out tonight, man. The Raptors missed the playoffs 3 straight seasons. This first time since 2012-2013, man. So they haven't gone back-to-back seasons with less than 30 wins since 2011-2012 season, guys. Country of Canada does deserve a lot better than what's been given to them as of late, man. You know what I mean? All right, so as far as injuries concerned, Bates is out for Cleveland. Strus, he's out with the ankle injury. He's still dealing with somehow, some way. And Sam Merrill, man, he's questionable with the wrist injury. Toronto, they got a litany of injuries. Bruce Brown, he's out with the knee injury. Well, Jacoby Walter, he's out. Kelly Olynyk's out. R.J. Barrett's out, man. Boucher's probable. Like, they don't really got anything out there. Grady Dick, he's probable, dealing with that ankle injury. DJ Carton is probable, man. Scotty Barnes is questionable with some personal injury, a personal thing, man. Don't know if he's going to be out there. He's hamstring, he's questionable, and Temple, he's questionable, man. They got a mass unit out there for Toronto, and who's really going to show up? I mean, at the end of the day, I believe the players do understand the position they're in when you see that kind of injury report in game number 1 for a team. Just saying, guys. All right, so head-to-head last 10 games, man. It's been 5-5, but you have to remember that's under the Pascal Siakam era, all right, over there with Toronto. So it was a little bit different team. Okay, against the spread, there Toronto also owns that 5-4-1. All right, and when you look over/under, it's been 4 to the over, 6 to the under, and the last 10. All right, now last season Cleveland beat them 3 times. Okay, only time that Toronto beat them, they beat them 124-121 on January 1st in Toronto. Okay, that was the most points that Toronto scored against them last year was at 121, and the most points that Cleveland scored against, or I'm sorry, it was 124 was Toronto. The most points that Cleveland scored against them last year was that 121, and the least amount of points they scored against them was 105 last season, just so you know, right? The least amount of points Toronto scored last season was 93, and most of that last season was with Pascal Siakam. As far as over-under is concerned, it's been 3 unders and 1 over in the last 3 times they played, and it's been, or 4 times they played, and it's been Cleveland's got, like I said, last season they covered twice, Toronto covered once, and it was a push. All right, so understanding this game, you got to understand this right here, man, that the favorites have won each of the Raptors' last 15 games at Scotiabank Arena. The Raptors have lost each of their last 15 games as home underdogs, and the Raptors have failed to cover the spread in each of their last 11 games as home underdogs. The favorites have covered the spread in each of the Raptors' last 10 games at Scotiabank, guys. Each of the Raptors' last 5 home games have gone over the total points line, and 12 of the Cavs' last 15 games as favorites have gone over the total points line, guys. So I'm not a fan of being part of the chalk and all that stuff early in the season, man, but I'm going to be honest with you. I've been on this Cleveland thing for a second, man. I got them at -4.5 right now. Like I said, the best you can do is a -6.5, unless you buy some points. I suggest you go ahead and lock Cleveland in, even if you go money line, which is -250 right now. So yeah, you might want to go ahead and do that. Do the Cleveland -4.5, or Cleveland team total points over the 114.5. I like that too. I definitely like that, guys. All right. All right, guys, so let's go ahead and let's take a look at this next game. Next game will be the Charlotte Hornets visiting the Houston Rockets. This game kicks off at 8 p.m. East Coast time. All right, line is between Houston -8 and Houston -7.5. Over-under has been as high as +235, 234.5. And it's currently sitting at 229.5, guys. All right, so let's go ahead and let's take a look at these two teams. Last year, we already know Charlotte, they only won 21 games. Real forgettable season, rock bottom. All right, LaMelo was spent most of the season on the sideline. He missed 60 games last year. All right, so there was never a real hope for anything. The Hornets got rid of Steve Clifford, their head coach, acquired Todd Gibson and Josh Green to bolster their depth. And realistically, the Hornets don't expect much improvement from last season. All right, Miles Bridges did average 21 points, 7.3 rebounds. Ball is back, and he's starting in this game. All right, and Brandon Miller, he looked good last year. So they do have some opportunity to be a way better team. It's just, what will they really do out there on the court? Now, when you're looking at the Rockets, the Houston Rockets are hoping to climb from only getting 16 wins last year in their last 22 games. Now, they did finish with 41 total wins on the season, and they were actually in the hunt at one point in time, I believe, back in March, late March going into April, but at the end of the day, they just laid down at one point. I believe the Warriors beat them head up by I can't remember right now, so I ain't even gonna cap. I ain't gonna lie. If I can't remember it, I ain't gonna tell you all, guys. All right, so Albert Sengun, he averaged 21.1 points, 9.3 rebounds per game. Jalen Green, he took the next step in his development, and the addition of Fred VanVleet and Dylan Brooks seemed to actually be working last year. Now, in terms of offense, the Rockets remained quiet, but they did manage to, or offseason, but they did manage to draft Reed Shepherd. All right, with the 3rd overall pick in the NBA draft. The Rockets somewhat overachieved last season and finished with that respectable 41-41 record, but the young players are really trying to respond from Ime Udoka, and so I'm expecting them to improve once again this year. When you're looking at the injury report, Charlotte, of course, Mark Williams is out and Daquan Jeffries is out. Mark Williams with the foot and Jeffries with the hand. Simpson, he's got a hamstring, he's probable. Nick Smith Jr., he's questionable with the groin. Cody Martin is probable with the wrist, and Grant Williams is probable with the hamstring. Looking at Houston, Steven Adams, he's got an undisclosed questionable injury he's dealing with. Unclear if he's actually going to suit up tonight, guys. All right, so looking over at these two teams, last 10 times they have matched up, it's 5-5 even. It is 6-4 against the spread to Charlotte. They do have the lead there, and it's 5 to the over, 5 to the under. Last season they did play twice. Houston won last won both of them. Most points they scored last season was 138. The least they scored was 128, and the most that Charlotte scored on them last year was 119, and the least was 104, guys, just so you know that kind of information, because to me that's kind of important when you look at the team totals. All right, so looking at this right here, man, why you got to understand what's going to happen. The Hornets have lost each of their last 6 games against Western Conference opponents. The Rockets have won each of their last 8 games as favorites against Eastern Conference opponents, and the Rockets have covered the spread in each of their last 6 games as home favorites. Now, the Hornets have failed to cover the spread in each of their last 4 road openers as underdogs, guys. Each of the Hornets' last 8 games as underdogs have gone over the total points line, and each of the Rockets' last 7 night games have gone over the total points line. So the Rockets, they could be a little short-handed with that Steven Adams thing, but currently listed as questionable. They should be the favorites in this, man. Despite it just being the first game of the season, they really should be the favorites right now. The line's kind of heavy for me, though, so I'm not really trying to play that. Houston minus 7.5. That's a lot. I am paying attention to the fact that the over-unders dropped dramatically, so I'm honestly going to probably buy it up to like 232 and pick the under in this game, guys. That would be my lean in this one. But let's go ahead and let's look at the next one. All right, so looking at that next game, it is the New Orleans Pelicans versus the Chicago Bulls. This game will be played 8 p.m. East Coast time, all right, in New Orleans. All right, the line is at Pelicans minus 6.5. Over-under is at 222.5. Over-under has gone all the way up to 226.5, and the line has gone down to Pelicans minus 5.5. But let's go ahead and let's look at these two teams. All right, so the Bulls are hoping for a fresh start after only winning 39 regular season games last year. They got bounced out by the Heat in the play-in tournament, and DeMar DeRozan missed just 3 games in the regular season and finished with averages of 24 points, 4.3 rebounds, and 5.3 assists per game. Nikola Jokic, or Vucevic, I'm sorry, he averaged 18 points and 10.5 rebounds per game, while Kobe White, he had a career season high last year, finishing with an average of 19.1 points, 5.1 assists per game. The Bulls traded away DeMar DeRozan, Alex Caruso, and Andre Drummond to acquire Chris Duarte, Josh Giddey, and to bolster a young roster. So the Bulls tried to move Zach LaVine, but nobody wants him. But somehow, some way, he manages to still be on this team. Everybody's sold on him. I'm not sure. We got to see what he does this year, guys. Meanwhile, when you're looking at New Orleans, the Pelicans, they kind of hoping they can catch a stride this year and not get so many injuries, right? Because after Zion Williamson and Brandon Ingram both missed time in the postseason, Zion Williamson played 70 games and led the way with averages of 22.9 points, 5.8 rebounds, and 5 assists a game. While Brandon Ingram, he had 20.8 points, 5.7 assists. And CJ McCollum, man, he missed 16 games last year, but he still finished with 20 points, 4.3 rebounds, and 4.6 assists a game. The Pelicans kept busy in the offseason. They got rid of Jonas Valanciunas and acquired DeJounte Murray, Dyson Daniels, and Larry Nance Jr. So the Pelicans are kind of trying to take that next step, man. But it's all predicated off of the health of certain people, man. And when you understand health, you got to understand, you got to look at the injury report, especially knowing about the Pelicans, right? So with Chicago, we already know Patrick Williams, he's questionable. Josh Giddey is probable, both with ankle injuries. Lonzo Ball, he's probable with the knee injury. Buzelis, the rookie, he's questionable with that leg injury, or lower leg injury. Julian Phillips, he's questionable with ribs. Dosumo, he's questionable with the shoulder, and Delane Terry, he is also questionable with the knee. And then when you look at the Pelicans, Jose Alvarado is questionable right now with the knee injury that he's nursing. Trey Murphy will be out with that hamstring. DeJounte Murray, he's questionable, not knowing if he's going to actually suit up. Zion Williamson's questionable with an illness, so DeJounte's personal and Zion's with an illness. Brandon Ingram, he's undisclosed and questionable. So we'll see who's really coming out there for these two teams. Looking at the last 10 times they have matched up, right? So it's even 5-5 against the spread, even straight up 5-5, and it's been 8 to the over and 2 to the under last 10 times they played. They did play twice last year. Chicago won both of them, 124 to 118 the first time back in December, and then the next time when they played in February it was 114 to 106 in New Orleans. All right, Chicago did also also covered both times. They were getting money both times. Chicago was getting 5 last time and getting 1 the first time. Over under, they went under one time and over one time. And the over under highest one was at 224.5, which is where it went under, and it went over to 220, guys. All right, so understanding a few things about these teams, you got to know these things right here, right? So the Pelicans have lost 5 of their last 6 games as home favorites. The road team has won 12 of the Pelicans' last 15 games, and the Pelicans have failed to cover the spread in 8 of their last 9 games at Smoothie King Center. Now, the road team has also covered the spread in 12 of the Pelicans' last 15 games. So, you also got to know that the Pelicans' last 6 games against Central Division opponents have gone under the total points line. 5 of the Bulls' last 6 games went over the total points line, man. So, looking at these two teams, looking at what's going on out here, not understanding who's really going to be out there right now, man, I got to go ahead and say it. While the Pelicans are paying attention to Alvarado and Zion Williamson and whoever wants to appear on their list is questionable, right? I got to pay attention to the fact that the Bulls are trying to build something right now, man. So I got to try to take the Bulls plus the 6.5 or plus the 5.5, whatever I can get. Might buy a couple points, I don't know, but that's my lean on this one, guys. All right, so next game on the slate is the Los Angeles Clippers visiting the Phoenix Suns. All right, so this game is set to kick off 10 p.m. East Coast time. The line is Clippers plus 5.5. Over/under is 224.5. Some places Clippers plus 5 and over/under is at 225.5. All right, so looking at these two teams, Phoenix Suns, they want to have a way deeper run in the playoffs this year, man, because they only won 49 regular season games last year. They got bounced by the Timberwolves in the first round. They expect to be the best scoring team in the league with elite scorers like Kevin Durant, Bradley Beal, and Devin Booker, but constant injuries have stalled their progress and kept them in the middle of the league in terms of offensive pace, man. Suns traded away Eric Gordon, Thaddeus Young, and Drew Eubanks and acquired Monte Morris, Tyus Jones, and Mason Plumlee. Tyus Jones will be key because they needed a point guard, man, and it's good to see they finally went and got a point guard. Now, expect the Suns to improve on their record from last season, but I'm not sure if their defensive woes have been solved or will be worsened, right? So when you're looking at the Clippers are hoping to make a deeper run as well. They won 51 games in the regular season, only to lose in 5 games to the Mavericks in the first round of the playoffs. Now, Kawhi Leonard led the team with 23.7 points and 6.1 rebounds per game, but he's already out. And Paul George, he ain't on the team no more. So it's only looking like James Harden's going to do his thing with 16.6 points is what he did last year and 8.5 assists per game. Norman Powell, he also averaged 13.9 points per game. Expect to see a lot more from him this season. The Clippers made plenty of noise in the offseason. They traded away Paul George, like I said, and Russell Westbrook while acquiring Mo Bamba, Nicholas Batum, and Derrick Jones Jr. via free agency. So, we will see how this thing works out for them, man. When you're looking at injuries and all that with these two teams, Grayson Allen, he's a probable, but he's hobbled by an Achilles. I really wouldn't push it right now. Damian Lee, he's probable with the hamstring injury, and Yusuf Nurkic, he's questionable with the finger injury that he's dealing with now. Kogi's also out for with the hamstring when you're talking about Phoenix. Now, when you're looking at the Clippers injuries, Mo Bamba, he's already out with a knee injury as usual. Kevin Porter Jr., he's questionable with teeth. Flowers, his wrist is questionable, and we all know Kawhi's out as usual, guys. Last 10 times these two teams did match up. Now it's 5-5 even straight up. And the Clippers do own it against the spread 6-4, and it's been 7 to the over, 3 to the under. Last year they did play a total of 4 times, and in the 4 times they played last year, Clippers won 3 of the 4. Most points they scored was 138, and the least amount of points they scored was 108. Now, the Suns, the best they did was the last time they played back on April 10th. All right, they won 124 to 108, guys, and they covered the 11.5. Now, against the spread last season, of course, the Clippers ran that 3-1, and it went 3 to the over and 1 to the under last season when these two teams did match up. But remember, these are completely different teams. Clippers have been dismantled. All right, now, what you got to know about these two teams is the Clippers have lost each of their last 6 night games. The Suns have won each of the last 7 Wednesday games, and the Clippers have failed to cover the spread in each of the last 6 night games. Now, the Suns have covered the spread in each of the last 7 Wednesday games, and each of the Suns' last 7 road openers have gone under the total points line. Each of the Clippers' last 6 Wednesday games also, as underdogs, have gone over the total points line, guys. All right, so with no Kawhi and a lot of people injured for the Clippers, man, I got to rock with the Suns. I got it already. I got it at I think I got the Suns -4.5 or something like that, -3.5. I still would get in at the Suns -5. I think they're going to cover that. That's where I'm at with that, guys. So this next game that we're looking at right now is the Memphis Grizzlies visiting the Utah Jazz. This game kicks off 9 p.m. East Coast time. All right, the line was Utah +3.5, over under at 228.5. The line has since moved. Now it's the Jazz +2.5, and the over under is set at 229.5. All right, so looking at these two teams, Grizzlies had a horrible season, very forgettable. They just won 27 games last year. Ja Morant was suspended for 25 games, and then as soon as he came back, he got hurt. All right, they faced a whole slew of injuries. They didn't add a single player in the offseason because they know that they should be in the playoff picture with what they got. Okay, the only thing they really got was big man Zach Edey with the 9th overall pick. And even after a horrid season, there's still high expectations in Memphis, man. Ja Morant is back, and he's playing with a chip on that shoulder. All right. Now, when you're looking at the next team, though, you're looking at how Utah's going. The Jazz continued their downward spiral last season, where they managed only 31 wins to miss out on the playoffs once again. Colin Sexton, he was the most consistent player last year for the Jazz as he averaged 18.7 points, 4.9 assists, while playing in 78 games. Larry Markkinen, he just played 55 games. He averaged 23.2 points, 8.2 rebounds per game, and Jordan Clarkson, he came in with 17.1 points per game in down year, guys. The Jazz decided to let go of Chris Dunn in exchange for Patty Mills and Drew Eubanks. The Jazz should be able to improve on last season's record, but that all remains to be seen, predicated off of health. And when you talk about health, looking at the injury report, it's long for Memphis and it's long for Utah. Kennard out. Vince Williams is out. Aldama's probable with the hamstring. Jalen Jackson Jr., he's out with the hamstring. Kennard, he's probable with the heel. Marcus Smart, he's got an undisclosed injury, and he's questionable if he's going to be able to play. Ja Morant, of course, is questionable, battling that ankle. And G.G. Jackson, he's out with the foot injury. Utah's only missing Juzang and Isaiah Collier. Isaiah's out with the hamstring, and Juzang is out with the thumb, guys. So looking at these two teams, last 10 times they played, man, Memphis honestly has not beat them in Utah since 2021. November 22nd of 2021 is the last time that Memphis beat them in Utah, guys. That's food for thought, just so you know. Now, the last 10 times they played, they're 5-5 even. It's been Jazz 6-3-1 against the spread, so Jazz run the spread, and it's been 7 to the over, 3 to the under in the last 10 times they played. Last season when they played 3 times, and in the 3 times they played last year, Utah won twice and covered twice, and Memphis won once, and that was the last time they played back on November 29th of last season, guys. Memphis scored 105 points to Utah's 91 points in that game in Memphis, but like I said, they don't win in Utah, man. That's the problem. Like, they ain't won in Utah in years. Okay, that's why the line moved like it did, and that's why it looks the way it looks right now, man. Prior to that one win against the spread at the end of the last season, last time they played, November 29th, all right, Utah covered 6 times straight against this team, man. And before that, it was one push. All right, so that goes all the way back to the 2022 season, October of the 2022 season, guys. So you got to understand what's going on when you see these numbers like you see them. All right, so to make a play on this one, man, you got to understand the Jazz have lost 14 of their last 16 games. The road team has won 4 of the Grizzlies' last 5 games, and the road team has covered the spread in 4 of the Grizzlies' last 5 games. The Jazz have failed to cover the spread in 6 of their last 8 games at Delta Center. Now, 11 of the Grizzlies' last 12 night games at the Delta Center have gone over, and 16 of the last 20 games between the Grizzlies and the Jazz have gone over the total points line, guys. All right, so the Grizzlies are still missing a bunch of players, but at the end of the day, Ja is back. The Grizzlies should be favored by more, or you would think they would be, unless you looked at history. And if you look at history, you would have to rock with Utah. And at the end of the day, I'm not going to go against history. If I was going to make a play on this, it would be Utah plus probably 3.5 or 4.5, something like that. I wouldn't take it as straight at 2.5. And I would definitely rock with that over. I'll probably buy a couple points on that and buy it down to like 227 and go over to 227, guys. And the last game on the slate right now is the Portland Trail Blazers versus the Golden State Warriors. All right, so this game will be kicked off out there in the cold, wet streets of Portland. All right, this game will be at 10 p.m. East Coast time. The line is Portland plus 5.5, over under 225.5. It has since had a little movement. It's still at Portland plus 5.5, and the over under has gone down. Now it's at 222 as far as the over under is concerned. So it has moved towards the under. When you're looking at these two teams, man, you got to understand a few things. And last season, the Warriors won 46 games in the regular season, and they were in the playoffs. They got bounced by the Kings in the play-in tournament, and they traded away Dario Saric and Chris Paul. The biggest move was getting rid of the Splash brother, Klay Thompson, after 13 seasons. And in terms of additions, the Warriors acquired Kyle Anderson, Buddy Hield to replace Klay Thompson, decent upgrade for right now, how Klay plays, and DeAnthony Melton to add some much-needed depth to the roster, right? So when you're looking at the Trailblazers, though, Trailblazers look to bounce back from multiple tough seasons, man. They won 21 games last year, right? The expectations were always low after trading away Damian Lillard, but good God, it got bad out there. All right, the Blazers just couldn't get the key players healthy at the same time. Anthony Simons, DeAndre Ayton, and Jeremy Grant all missed significant time last year. The Blazers moved on from Malcolm Brogdon and added Devontae Graham and Denny Avdija, all right, via trade. It would be unrealistic to expect too much more from this team or too much more improvement. I don't see them getting over 21 wins. Like, I just don't see it, guys. Injury report for these two teams, man. Golden State, Steph Curry's questionable with the finger injury. Andre Wiggins questionable with the illness. Podzinski, he's questionable with the nose. And Melton, DeAnthony Melton, is questionable with the back injury, guys. As far as Portland's concerned, Matisse Thybulle is out with the knee. Robert Williams III, he's out with the hamstring. Anthony Simons questionable as usual with the ankle. Jabari Walker, he's questionable with the ankle. And Shaedon Sharpe is out with the shoulder, guys. All right, last 10 times these two teams matched up. Of course, Golden State runs it 9-1, and they run it 5-4 against the spread. And as far as over/under, has been 2 to the over, 5 to the under with 2 pushes. Golden State has not lost to Portland since February 8th of 2023. All right, that's the last time they lost. The least amount of points they've scored against this team is 100 points. And the most points they've scored against this team is 157 points, man. Last year, the most points they scored against them was 126, and the minimum they scored against them last year was 110. All right, so definitely understand you got to look at team total overs and stuff like that with these two teams. Even though it's early in the season and you're not sure how all these new players are going to adjust to these teams, guys, you still got to take a glance at them. Right now, this is probably the most public play on the board. Most public play out there is Golden State right now. But if I was gonna have to play it, I'm just gonna tell you straight up, I would take Golden State in this one. I'll probably take them minus like 3.5 or something like that, or minus 3.5 by a couple points. I don't like the 3 possessions or 2 possessions on threes right now. And but before I make that play or would make that lean, let me give you some more information. Right, so the Trailblazers have lost each of their last 13 home games against Western Conference opponents. The Warriors have won each of their last 9 games as favorites against the Trailblazers, and the Warriors have covered the spread in 13 of their last 16 games as favorites. The Trailblazers have failed to cover the spread in 4 of their last 5 season openers against Western Conference opponents, and each of the Trailblazers' last 4 home openers as underdogs have gone under the total points line. Each of the Warriors' last 3 night games also have gone under the total points line, guys. So the Warriors should be at full strength in this one. I like Warriors. Like I told you, that's what I would play. I wouldn't mess with the over/under because of the movement and things like that. But I definitely like Golden State -5.5, man. I'm gonna try to put all my plays in the comments, guys. Pin it to the top if possible. Y'all have a blessed day. Stay safe, man. I'm gonna see you at the window. Please like, share, subscribe. I hope you enjoyed the video. Have a blessed day and stay safe. I'm gonna holler at y'all. Peace.